Rave Reviews. This is Chris.
Have you trapped the children?
There's no children here. It's not safe for them.
This is Alan, and Chris is right. Grave Reviews is intended for mature audiences. Your discretion is advised. Grave Reviews presents Thursday Night Frights.
Doing Renfield.
Renfield, the proper Dracula movie.
So this is our final broadcast of March. We were, marching through Cage, breaking loose, if you will. And tonight we decided to end our month of Cages with Renfield. Chris, tell me, what was your your first experience with this? Was this something that you knew about beforehand, or did you stumble across it? How did you find this movie?
I remember it coming out. There was talk about this movie for a little while before it actually came out, and of course, we had the great pandemic of 2020. So I think this kind of stumbled through all of that. Finally coming out in 23. I knew Nicolas Cage wanted to play Dracula, so I was kind of hyped for the movie when it was coming out. Finally got to watch it, and it's Nicolas Cage as Dracula.
What else do you need to know? um, oh, all right. So I have to apologize. I mean, we always start with asking each other about our weeks and how things are going. But we got to the point before the show that we were literally like going, I'm ready to talk about this, and I want to talk about this, but I didn't want to. We promise our friends, our family, our viewers, and those of you who are in the Talking Dead, that we won't do that. That we wait. So I just kept going. I can't. But
I have so much to say.
I have too much to say. And the funny part is I really don't have a lot to say. I'm just what I've got. It's chewing at me. It's been chewing at me all week. I'm with you. I saw there was a lot of fanfare, if you will, about this movie. And as soon as I heard, Nick Cage is going to be playing a Dracula and a vampire, I was like, oh, this is going to be glorious. Even if the movie's horrible, it's going to be glorious,
Yeah.
And even though, in my opinion, this is two separate movies that they tried to put into one, I'll get into that. Any scene with both Nick Cage and Nicholas Holt. Do I have that right?
Yep.
Yep. They are movie magic together. They are absolutely movie magic together.
A lot of some good chemistry between the two of them.
They really do. They understand each other. So yes, I agree. Real quick, let's just let's address the Talking Dead, if we will. Miss Hamlin, Elizabeth, thank you so much for coming in. My favorite neighbor. I appreciate that comment. Darren is here tonight.
Darren's my most uncomfortable chair award buddy. We sat through some John Carpenter's movies. Cool theater, awesome idea. Got a nice T-shirt, a little bit of the old ultra violence. And yeah, but those chairs, oh my God, you need maybe bring a bleacher cushion and put them on top of the movie chair you sit in.
You were telling.
Oh,
Oh,
3 movies didn't happen. Couldn't do it. Made it a movie and a half and went, this is cool. This is awesome. Got to see the thing on the big screen again, 35 millimeter as it should up on the wall. Great stuff. Prince of Darkness, got to see a good half of that before it was like my back can't take anymore, and we got an hour ride home. So
yeah. And Darren also is the one who's responsible for a movie that we've got coming up here in a couple of weeks.
Indeed, yeah.
No response to that just yet.
Nice.
Miss Tina, it's good to see you tonight. And as always, our good friend, I don't know where she came from, but LG is in the house. So hi, Lunar Girl. We're so glad that you're here. So Uh, we'll see. We'll see. Oh, I love it. People were smaller 100 years ago. Well, this is actually that really is true, LG.
Yeah, either that or they had more ass padding,
Well,
or they used all the padding up with their asses. So us in 2025 had nothing left. But just I don't know, man.
I don't either. So
Yeah.
our
Yeah.
movie starts really well. It starts back in Transylvania. I love the way they did this. They actually filmed in black and white and played I'm sorry, I don't know what happened there. Hold on a second. Paid homage to the original Universal Bela Lugosi Dracula. So well done.
Yeah.
So well
It was. It was. It was like a. This was a proper Dracula movie. We're taking it right from the start, and kind of picking his Renfield. Following a bit of that lore and like fast forwarding to the modern age, and how he got there.
and I love that. At one point I was waiting to hear him go. The children of the night. He did, but I was hoping that he was going to. But I did love the fact that they put the I don't drink wine. you know, you know, and I'm sorry, but I don't know how long Nick Cage had to prepare for this role, or if this is just something that Nick Cage has looked forward and wanted to do his whole
They
life.
said that he was. It's something he was wanted to do his entire life. It was the only reason why he took it because it wasn't going to be a supporting, like a main role. He's kind of a supporting character through this whole thing.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. He's not the main character, but he is the main focus,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So
He's um the narcissist and the codependent relationship, which
he's the boss that when we advertised this said, talking about the boss that sucks, literally. Yeah, and you know, he he entices Renfield with the promise of wealth, and he starts to show him just a little bit of that lifestyle, and
hmm
then he makes him his familiar, which basically means he's Dracula's servant. The familiar, Dracula's familiar, is always kind of presented with you stay here long enough to be my servant long enough, and you will be my successor.
yeah.
uh
Until then, you're vamp light.
yeah.
You're the daywalker. You're the
You're
daywalker.
yeah, and only you're a daywalker that could probably, power wise at least, you could take Blade out, even though
Right.
even though Blade has the tools and it's
You got enough crunchy spiders and cockroaches and such,
yeah.
an ant farm.
Which was a great scene to get to.
Yep. Yep.
So
So, but yeah, you've got the bugs. He's got the power.
yeah, instead of being a vampire and consuming humans, he consumes bugs, and that's how he gets his powers. And he collects humans for Dracula at this point, because as Dracula's gotten older in his 900 plus years, he's gotten a little lazy. He's like,
Lazy. He's been battling it out with the church.
oh yeah, so it literally starts with, like I said, with 900 or so years ago. We go through all that, and then it comes to a not modern day, but more modern day, when Dracula gets um, he's being hunted by the church, and you come to find out that this is a cycle that Dracula himself puts himself through. He gets nursed back to health. He starts to, and then as he's feeding, and his own power starts to feed into his psyche, and so forth. And he
Right.
starts to see himself as a god, and next thing you know, it's being gluttonous, and then he gets taken back down, and this
Right.
is the cycle. And
Right.
and instead of Renfield waiting until he gets taken down and then just leaving him down, right? He starts to nurse him back to health,
Yep.
and it's really a fantastic little play that these two go through together. And when they're in modern day New Orleans, and here's 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 Renfield who gets into a 12
Group
step
group therapy.
help group.
Which I mean, that's legit. You're working with he's probably about 100 years. He's been with Dracula now since had his aspirations of wealth and whatnot. And after 100 years, it takes a toll on you. Procuring the innocent for evil, and he needs to talk it out, man.
So there's a scene here where he brings this guy to Dracula to feed, and and he's a little less than, we'll get into the details of it, but he's a little less than savory, and I love the fact that when he's like, bring me a bus full of nuns, oh no, bring me a nun
A
or a
group of nuns or
cheerleader,
busload of cheerleaders.
something, and he goes, it, this is pure and modern in the modern world. You're not going to get much more pure than
And
this.
then you got Renfield, and I just want to be left alone.
So so funny. So again, as we said, Nick Cage and Nicholas Holt, they are fantastic. This whole this 40 okay. I heard someone say this. I'm just gonna paraphrase it.
All right.
This 45-minute movie that was written was great. The other 45-minute movie was sucked, and why they had to put them together, I don't know. I will tell you that I personally love this movie. The other movie that they tied into it, I hate this movie. Um,
I will give it the. I enjoy this movie, I really do, and I'll sit through Aquafina. However, Aquafina as the person you're supposed to care about, winning in the end because she's the good cop and all the other cops are dirty, and her sister, and you're just kind of like, she's dead. Oh, cool.
yeah,
There's one point where you're like, oh, she's toast, and you're kind of sad that that didn't
yeah, and it's funny because I th-
happen.
it, she cannot sell the fact that she's a tough cop. She can't do it. She doesn't walk like a cop. She doesn't talk like a cop. She doesn't look like a cop. Had they casted the girl that plays her FBI sister in the movie in Aquafina's part, you would have bought her as a cop.
Mhm.
Uh, I, there are a bunch of other comedic actresses out there who could have sold this part. My problem with Aquafina is, first of all, Fuji's water is better. Sorry, had to make a water joke. Um, I don't like her in anything I've ever seen her in. I didn't like her in Shang-Chi. Everything I've ever seen her in, look at her and go, "Oh, look, she's playing herself again."
I think that's what it is. Is her persona that she carries herself with is just kind of what you get, which you know to each their own, because we like Nick Cage because what he's cast in, he's Nick Cage.
She's Nick Cage, exactly.
But Nick Cage seems like it'd be cool to have a couple drinks with and talk movies. Aquafina, like I guess we could trudge around at the park and be sullen.
And try not to punch her in the throat. Um, yeah,
Oh,
so
yeah,
that's you know. Anyway,
But yeah, I would say that's the problem with the movie is that you're not sold into doing it for the right reasons. Like
yeah, and
um
you're not sold. Also, the whole crime lord.
I would
Uh,
have been cool if they kept the whole crime lord thing, even the cops as a background, and focused on the 12 steppers,
yep,
focus on the group and let them be the ones that are like that would have been, I think, better.
I think it would have been cool if this is just me spitballing here. I think it would have been cool if the whole police and crime lord section of it was gone,
Hmm.
and Renfield somehow talked the self help group into helping him, and they were the ones who were fighting against Dracula, and
Ah,
who had everything
yeah,
else.
like I said, there was some funny characters in there, man. Like
There was. I really like the TV show Ghost. Um, Bar and I really enjoy that, and um, what is his name on there? Uh, It's got a really weird name. Anyway, he's the one from like he was a Confederate soldier was hiding the fact that he was gay and so forth.
Ah,
And his character's great on
right.
Ghost.
Yeah.
And when I saw him as the author of the self help book slash leader of this group,
Yeah.
it was like, what a great casting. He was fantastic in that
It was
spot.
good. It was
And the one girl who kept trying to finally tell
I think Carol. Fuck's sake, one of these sit downs. Can I just finish my talk?
Yeah, it's oh, it's so funny. Oh my
That one broke me when the last time that happens, where
gosh, yeah.
she's interrupted by Renfield one more time.
I will say this also, if you haven't seen this, there are a few thank you, love. Higgins toot.
Taking
uh,
a stute. Okay, cool.
uh, there is there's a couple of scenes in this where Nick and Nicholas they just chew the scenery up.
Yeah.
There's a scene where there's a scene where um, you know he's the scene where towards the beginning when he's trying to tell when he brings it brings the guy he's like Dracula's like I need the cheerleaders, the busload of cheerleaders.
Right.
Th those that's I it had me laughing so hard because of the way that, Nick Holt didn't break character once through the whole movie. He was dead set, just that downtrodden, "I'm gonna be a better person"
The
guy.
victim, the codependent.
Yeah. He was he sold this better than any other movie I've ever seen him in. He was great in this.
It was funny. I love the part after that where he goes out and then he's like, he turns and then there's like a bunch of nuns sitting together eating. He's like, "Oh, come on!" And then the bus full of cheerleaders goes past, and he's just like, and he's trying to be a better person. So I love this part of the premise where we go from here is he's like, okay, all these terrible people that have made my group therapy session go through these trials and tribulations. They're terrible people. I'm going to get them
Uh-huh.
and I'm going to feed them to Dracula and
Right.
then I free them and bad people get eaten and nobody's the wiser and I don't feel like a murderer anymore.
And I love when one of the, women, the police come to interview her because they found her husband's DNA and all the stuff, and she's like, "Oh my god, he's dead. Did you hear that? He's dead." Tears, and they're having it was so I mean, because it's true. So to be clear, Renfield is not at first anyway, not going to the self help group to help himself. He's doing it to get victims for Dracula. He doesn't want to take the nice people of the group. He's wanting to take the people who are giving them, who are their oppressors. And I was
Right.
like, and I'm sitting there going, that's that's kind of genius. That's a really neat idea. I like the way they
Yeah.
play. I also like the way that as you said, they went back to original Dracula, but they also expanded on the mythos. I love the fact that they were able to kind of slow him down with the ghost ring, right? Which we
Right.
usually see the salt ring
Yep.
being against
The protection circles and
spirits and that kind of thing. But
yep.
to be able to use it with Dracula, I thought, okay, that's a cool way to pick that.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, I love the fact that he doesn't necessarily die if he's direct to sunlight, right? But it does
Right.
hurt him very
Messes
bad.
them up.
Um,
The conversion to bats back and forth. That was
oh,
cool.
was all
I was sold on that one right away. I enjoyed that.
so, so what they did there, which was one of the very few CGI items that they did through the whole movie, instead of him turning into one bat or turning into steam slash fog, he
Mhm.
turned it. He went into this foggy, and then all these hundreds of bats come flying out of it, and then they
And when
come,
they're all on fire and stuff,
yeah,
and he's
they all
flying.
come
That was cool.
together, and they turn into him. I was like, oh, that's well done.
Very
Well
well done.
and then then what I like to call Dracula the fog monster, right? When
Right.
he did where he turned into the dark smoke and flew
Yep.
into into the priest's mouth, and then the priest explodes. And Renfield's like, "Well, I didn't see that one coming."
Yeah. This shirt, ultra violence. This is where we go into with this movie,
Oh my
and
god, we do.
it is just so satisfying because it's over the top. Like, there's one of those like, oh, he did this, but like rims rip off, things explode. There's buckets of blood being thrown up in the air.
I'm going to
Oh,
be honest
it's-
with you. All right, when okay, so there's a fight scene okay, so not only is this horror comedy, it's also action. There's a lot of really, really well done action in this
yeah.
movie, but it's almost not comedic, comic book style acting. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
over the top. Um, there's spray fountains of blood that would make Kill Bill uh, feel like Tarantino go, oh, I could have used more blood. I should have used more blood.
Yeah.
Um,
Whoa, you can use a guy's arm as a sword javelin.
yeah, but that when he does it, you see the hero with just like 2 or 3 specks, although it's been a fountain coming in his direction, so you're like,
Yeah.
whatever. But yeah, he rips this guy's arms off, basically uses his arms like nunchucks, and then throws them like a javelin, and I was just like, "This is beautiful, man." And how did he get all this power, Chris?
Yeah, just a little bug.
He grabs
Uh,
it.
looking for bugs and looking for bugs, and thank God the neighbor's kid had an ant farm in the window, and he's like, "Ah," and they're like, "Get out of here, you psycho!" as he's eating all the ants.
If I'm not mistaken, the line the mom said was "You suck" as he goes out the window. It was so funny because he literally takes the ant farm and turns it up. Ah.
Yeah, spitting the sand out, not munching down till his eyes turn, and then he's got the power.
So funny.
He's got
So
the glow.
he's got the glow. Oh, this was great. This was I mean, again, and it's like fountains of blood. And it's ultra bright, and I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't um Lost Boys the blood and have glitter in it. I mean, they
Oh,
really tried to go,
oh, when the cops come, like they're hiding out at his place, which pretty nice for a serial killer's place.
yeah, no
But
doubt.
they're hanging out there, and the cops show up, and so all these like people in SWAT, there's it's like the 88 have come to take them on, and they slaughter them all. And it's just the stuff that happens where he comes and grabs a hold of the guy's face and rips the guy's face off.
He tries to pull it up in his face, and the guy's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, missing. We just that whole section had me laughing out loud because they're jumping off of stuff and he's doing this and then at the end he's like holding his hand up to for our heroine to grab a hold and you're like to what? Oh yeah, because he's standing on a pile of bodies and he's helping her down from the railing.
This was a great line. Again, the delivery wasn't great, but it was a great line. When she says, "You know how when someone says to you, oh my God, would you believe this?" And you say, "Oh, I've seen worse." Well, this is my I've seen worse.
That's right. Everything I have seen you be a part of is my worst.
So I mean, again, just
There's
so
some great lines that come through. Some one-liners where it's, talking about Kyle, and it's like, well, I did this. Shut the fuck up, Kyle.
Kyle. Um, when Dracula finally has enough power, energy stored that he goes in search of Renfield, and he comes to his apartment, and he's going, this. He goes, it's in a studio apartment. He goes, this studio.
Studio.
All right. So I want to show everyone a picture real quick because I meant to do this earlier. It's not anything bad. It's not going to freak anyone out. But when you see this picture right here, tell me that is not the epitome of saying, okay, if you want to know what this movie's about, here you go. Watch, see this picture.
Yeah.
Anything that
It's
just went through your mind? Yes.
it's a beautiful thing. It is Nicolas Cage as Dracula and loving it.
I am so in love with Nick Cage. I really liked his films before this month, but these last 4 movies I've watched just makes me
Funny.
realize, when we first started this um, march on Cage, Chris had jokingly said, "Oh, he's a national treasure because of the movie National Treasure," but he really is. I mean, he is one. I could not tell you another actor who could have played this role this way and made us just sit there and go, "Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah."
Through the whole thing, the moments he has with Renfield,
El-
um, it's
what do you?
just so good. When he comes into the apartment, and because he realizes you've been feeding me bad guys, I haven't been eating the innocent. And that's why I'm not getting better. And he finds out via the bad boy, uh, Lobo, uh, that you know it's Renfield. He's doing this, and he's like, "Well, I should be evil. Well, you should be my mom." you know,
Yes, no doubt. and
and
and I
then he goes to meet Renfield, and that whole moment of like coming to you, and Renfield's trying to play this off as, "No, you're the narcissist, and I'm the codependent, and I'm not a victim anymore," and him going, "What? I'm the victim."
uh
The way he turns it on Renfield was fun through that.
it really was, and it's funny because you sit there and go, "Oh, yeah, I could see how." He could manipulate him that way, especially after them being together for almost 900 years.
Right.
And poor Renfield. Um, and it's funny because you're watching that scene in the apartment and you're going, "Wow, Count Dracula's a dick." He's not, the aristocrat, and he's a dick. you know,
He's evil. Like,
yeah.
he's evil, and he knows he's evil, and I'm supposed to be evil, and you're feeding me evil people. No wonder I'm not getting better.
Yeah, and it's like, and he comes. Oh, when Nick Cage goes in and to the self help group and kills all of them, you're just sitting there. He walks, and I love this play. Also, this is something that I didn't catch the first time I watched it. The reason he was able to go into the studio apartment of Renfield without being invited was because he had a welcome mat on the
Right.
porch.
I love they stuck to that lore through the movie where, like he runs to the self-help group and he's like, "We gotta go. We gotta go. He's on his way." He's on, and they're like, "Come on, calm down." This is the part where Carol's like, "One time."
Yeah, just let me.
And he's like, "We gotta go." And Dracula shows up and you see the foot going across the threshold, and you're like, "Oh, they're playing into that he has to be invited." And of course, our director's like, "Come on in." He's no.
Yeah, and the fact that the welcome mat was enough to say that he was allowed to come in. I was just like,
Yeah.
"That's funny."
Attention to detail, man. That's why you
Yep,
be careful who you invite into your house.
no doubt, because, as we've been told before, um, that will render you helpless, boy, don't you
Right.
know?
Don't you know?
Don't you know that?
Yeah, and Dracula just saying, "I'm going to destroy everything you ever care about." So of course he goes to his poor group's therapy session, and I love the fact that it's like happening so fast.
Uh-huh,
Filming wise, it's just filmed normally, except for Renfield flying through the air after getting punched.
uh-huh.
And he's just going around tearing everybody apart, almost be able to save the one guy, and he gets it anyway.
I love the fact that there's a scene in this or there's a section of the scene when Nick Cage spreads his arms and lifts up off the floor, right, and he's floating, and and the self help group leader's like, okay, maybe narcissism is not exactly what we're up against, or something.
We're dealing with way more than narcissism here.
I was
Yeah.
rolling. I was like, oh my god, because it was, yeah, it was just the delivery was just perfect.
Yeah.
Um, so Nick, I'm sorry, Dracula, winds up teaming up with the mob boss and family, and makes a whole bunch of familiars out of the boss's kids.
Yep.
Um, so I do like the way he was introduced to the mother when
Yeah.
the son walks in and they're all carrying the coffin and they put the shades up, to block off the light. And
Yep.
he stands up.
Yep.
That that was a good line. That was a fun time on that
Yeah.
because he's
Yeah. The
the
whole "you got to meet my mom" thing, and
yeah.
yeah, you're like, well, what would you say if I were to take off the heads of all of your enemies? Dude, that's like what we're all about.
Yeah, yeah, we already do that.
So once again, he's got the illusions of grandeur, and Dracula sees I can put the entire human race to my boot heel, and this is how it starts with taking out Renfield. Um, so
because he's in that cycle again where he's getting, the glutton part of it, where he's like, now I want to rule the world.
right,
So
right, and yeah, we've got some great fights where you've got the bad guys eating crickets, snorting the centipedes,
yep,
and Renfield just searching for some spiders or something to munch on.
yep, and
And a great battle ensues between familiars. You've got Rebecca shooting away, and
I
um,
love the uh, Mortal Kombat section where the Lobo jumps. He's like mid launch, and Renfield does the spinning kick, and all of a sudden you see the X-ray of the bones,
yeah,
and then blood shoots out his ass.
at his mouth.
Same time. Whoosh! And he's like, oh,
Over the top. It was so
good.
good. There's
So
another one when she shoots the one guy in his leg and like part of his leg gets shot off. The look on his face had me dying because he's just like ah, and steps on his head. And yeah, so of course Renfield finds the bug at the last minute, is able to save the day and from the familiars. But we've still got uh,
still got
Dracula to deal with, and the one problem Renfield has is he's still under his control. Um,
and
can
and
hear him in his head.
he and it doesn't matter how many bugs he really eats. I mean, he's not going to beat Dracula's power, right?
Right. He's
I mean,
still Dracula light, you know.
exactly, exactly. I did like the fact that they used the safety ring, you know, and I love the fact that okay, hold on a minute. Spoiler alert! If you don't know,
Spoilers.
you might want to skip ahead about 15 to 20 seconds.
We're
If
gonna
you
talk about the end.
know, they basically trap him in a cocaine a cocaine ring. I did like that. It doesn't matter what kind of powder you
Yeah,
use,
apparently it doesn't matter what kind of powder as long as it's a circle.
as long as it's circling and you say the right magic words. They basically cut him into pieces
They
and then
smash him with so many weapons.
concrete each of those little pieces and put him down the sewer. And I love it. He gets, I don't know if that killed him or not, but I think it'll take a long time for him to get back together.
Right. Little tiny ice cube sized concrete balls of Dracula, except for a pitcher of blood, which they go around reviving all their friends.
Okay.
And the line at the end is so funny, where he's thanking him for bringing him back from a place where you know we've seen some things that we can't unsee, and we know some things we can't unknow.
Thanks.
But thanks, and they're all like, but you're just like, oh shit.
um, I I will say I actually did not care for that ending. I love the lines. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
I thought it was funny, but I was just like, I thought, you know what? It would have been more impact if they would have just let them die. And,
right.
let her
Yeah, it
sister.
was weird bringing them back. The sister I could get, because she's there, but it's been a while since your buddies have been dead.
Yeah.
And knowing that Dracula goes down like hail Satan, he might know something about it. So
That was
yeah,
funny. We've seen things that we can't unsee. Um, all right. So I think everyone's kind of got the picture that we kind of like this movie. Uh, Chris, if you were going to put a scale on this one, right? If you're going to say one star is a miserable dredge that I'm angry that I watched. 10 means it transcends time and space, and anyone should watch it whether they like horror movies or not. 5 just hits all the marks. Where would you rate this movie?
As fun as I liked it, as much as I liked it, as fun as it was, there are some points for me, Aquafina is not. She doesn't do it for me as an actress. Her part was lacking, so that made the story feel lumpy. Because you
Well,
don't care. You care about Renfield. You don't really care about her or her sister.
I love it.
It's a little lumpy. So
Uh,
enjoyable. It hits the marks. Good Dracula movie. I love the callbacks. The whole coffin that he uses for his dead bugs. Direct callback to 1930 Dracula with the bee coming out of a little coffin.
yep.
Um, so I love the callbacks to other Dracula movies. I like the fact that people knew who Dracula was. Where it's like, who are you? Well, I'm you know Teddy Lobo, and he's like, I'm Dracula. You win.
You win. You win.
You win. So I love the fact that they know Dracula. So it's fun. There is that section that kind of brings it down a little bit. So I'm gonna say a solid 7. Um, it's fun for me. It hits
Yeah,
all the marks. Could have been more because seriously, it was Nick Cage's Dracula. You could tell he was enjoying playing Dracula because
absolutely.
I was enjoying watching him play Dracula. So
Exactly. Mm.
love you.
So I'm
There
with
were
you.
Gap Theater seats. Sorry, Gap Theater. We hope you can turn that place around and fix the seats.
If this movie was the Nick Cage, Nick Holt vampire movie that they wanted to make, I would have given this an 8 to an 8.5 because
Yeah,
the camaraderie and they were great together. They really were fantastic together.
definitely.
Um, but as much as I tried, I
The
didn't like
police angle's the rough part, man. Like
it. Really
the
is.
underground bosses could actually work in whatever you're doing. It's the police angle was just
It's funny because when
weird.
she's standing there in the station and she's like, "F you," blah 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 blah. I'm like, okay, that's funny coming from a girl who looks like a marshmallow. Right? But it is not funny coming from a cop that you
Right.
can't buy as a cop. Had it been, um, um, okay, so had she played this cop more similar to, oh, what is her name? Um, she was Sandra Bullock, where they were both police officers, and she was the sloppy
Oh
whatever.
yeah.
Had she the the bumbling fool? Had she played that part as a bumbling, lovable police officer, then and everyone was like, "Hey, the only reason she got the job is because of it's because of her dad." But yet she stumbled her way into it. You would have been like, "Okay, cool, that's fun," but she didn't. She plays it the way she plays everything, and that is Aquafina being Aquafina, and I don't like it. Had it
Yeah.
not been that, it would have been great, but because of that, I'm saying this is a 6.5.
Fair, dude.
But that being said, don't let that discourage you. This was a fun movie.
This
Like,
is probably one of Nick Cage's better roles.
yep, I
I hands down, the movie detracts from that, but you can tell he was enjoying the hell out of playing Dracula. And
yep.
seriously, I cannot say enough. I enjoyed the hell out of watching him play Dracula. It was
And
fun.
and and I will and Nicholas Holt was great as Renfield.
Oh yeah, the
He
two of them, they're in another movie together where they play father and son. There's a reason for that because they have that chemistry, man.
What is the name of this movie? Because I must watch it.
I will find it.
Well,
I
that's what
I knew it going in.
I'm uh, Talking Dead. That's the reason I'm saying these two, the chemistry of these two together is just fantastic. Um, Here's going to be the hard part, though. Taking that aside and going just strictly on rewatchability and how much fun it is. We are on our 60th movie, everybody. That Chris and I
60 movies.
that before.
It's
It's
awesome.
hard for me to believe. Where should we put this on our shit
Oh,
list? Or sometimes hysterical, but intentionally tasteless list of movies. Someone in the chat, give me a number. Where should we start? Is Renfield better than Um, is it? Well, let's go up here to where we start to get into the
Let's bring
type.
my shit list up
Is
here.
it going to be better than Little Monsters? Maybe.
Hmm.
Is it going to be better than Zombievers?
I will say because of the Aquafina, we're stuck kind of, I would say, mid pack right about now. That's a
God, I love GLG. You're my favorite.
poor Sharknado.
Baby.
Oof, oof.
Oh,
Like I said, it's a mid pack for what we have right now.
yeah,
Um, like we could say it up and down. Marching with Cage, this was a great one to end on
it
because as
was.
far as horror goes, you can tell. Yeah, it's that hit of knowing horror
Yep,
and knowing the actors that have come before you in horror, and I
yep.
think Nick Cage kind of gets that. So yeah,
It's no Raising Arizona, but it's really good Cage flick.
better than Zombievers. Yeah.
You're wrong. I'm sorry, I love you, Darren, but you're wrong. Um, I will
he
say this.
he used his thing for that, so it's
Yeah,
not going up there.
I
No, we're mid pack, dude.
I enjoyed this better than Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
uh, but I don't think it's better than Black Sheep.
yeah. Well, I was gonna say, I hate saying Sharknado's better than things. But yeah, I would say, right at the 33 spot, move faculty down.
I'm going to say that I enjoyed this more than I liked Sharknado. Um, that's just being honest. That's not because I'm picking on LG. Again, had this been Sharknado 2, I would have said, "Oh God, no!"
No,
Right? Sharknado 2 to me is a much superior movie. Um, but I'll agree with you. Let's put it at 34. Let's put it where the faculty is, and then
yeah,
we can look at the list and make a decision at that point. Let's do that. We'll start there.
okay. See, the problem is like Frankenhooker through that whole movie, it
Uh-huh.
holds true to being Frankenhooker.
Oh, absolutely.
Renfield doesn't hold true to being Renfield. There's sections of it where you're just like, had it been like Angela Bassett kind of cop from
Oh,
Vampire in Brooklyn,
yeah.
like she was sexy, but she was a cop, and you kind of bought that from her. She's that tough look. This was just kind of like I'm mad at the world and I'm going to frump everywhere.
You know who would have been surprising? Surprisingly, I can't even believe you said that, and it came to my mind. I went, oh my god, yeah. Gina Carano would have been great in that
Mm,
position, or and I don't even know her name. The girl who's been on Law and Order forever,
okay.
right? Melissa, she got that British last name. Um, because it's a comedic role from a straight point of view, right? Most of it's played straight.
Right.
Someone who could have delivered that type of straight role would have been hilarious in that, right? Because they
Yeah.
would have had to try to be funny. They could have just delivered it straight, like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
believe. I
All
believe
of those jokes that she had, she
yeah,
could have fired off without um, trying to look for the humor in it, just popping off. They were funny.
been super dry about it, it would have been hilarious. It would have been really, really fun to me, anyway.
Yeah.
So let's look at this real quick. So we're above faculty and below Black Sheep. I'm actually kind of okay with that spot.
I'm
Um,
right there. Like I said, I'll give Sharknado this one. And you have Aquafina to thank for
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Sorry, there's actresses out there that just don't work, man. That's
The,
personal preference. You work in a subjective field. I apologize. I subjectively dismiss you.
the girl who played in Sharknado that had the quote unquote shark bite on her leg would have been better than Aquafina in this role. It's an actress. So let's go there. Ha ha. So are we going to lock it in?
Lock it in. It's no Raising Arizona, but it's a good Cage flick.
Yeah. You know what Cage flick I haven't seen.
So,
I've never seen Kiss of a Vampire.
oh,
Yeah, I've never seen that one.
that's an interesting one.
Yep. So that being said, next week we have. What are we going to do next week, Chris? We've been doing this Cage thing for so long.
March is over next week. We were bringing in April, and what better way to end our Marching with Cage destined to be uncaged.
So
S-
next week we are going to be watching the movie Uncaged, which is a very um, interesting take on the werewolf genre. It is a
Interesting.
free watch on both Tubi and Plex,
That
right?
is.
We invite you to please watch, before we can review Uncaged, we need to view Cage. So come on, watch a movie with us, and then come back next week. Be a member of the Talking Dead. Let us know what you think about Uncaged. Chris, is there anything you would like to say before we log off this evening?
I'd like to say a couple things. First, shout out to Wrestling with Horror. Stopped in on their stream on Tuesday. They were covering Into the Mouth of Madness. So I was like, oh, I just watched the thing, Prince of Darkness. Let's talk about it. So shout out to them. They were giving us a shout on the show. So appreciate that, ETEP and Trina. And we got to get together again sometime soon. That would be
Absolutely.
fun.
Absolutely.
Until then, friends, you can go to the bio link that will be in our chat. It's where it takes you to all of our socials, bio.link/graverev. And that will take you to a spot where you can click on all of our socials. We have a Twitch now. Twitch is up there. TikTok, Facebook, Insta. Got an email in there. All these ways that you can reach out and talk to us, ask us questions, ask us to cover a movie, throw in some there. We're creeping up on one of our Talking Dead suggestions. We try to get to them because we've got our own agenda with movies flying by, and sometimes one of us watches something that says, "Hey, we're going to do this. Let's do this," and we do it.
Hey,
So
I just watched this movie, Chris. We got to do this.
we got to do it. Yeah, it happens. So, shout out to Darren. We got to hang out with LG, and I got to hang out with him and his son. It was cool. Got to see some old. We saw a Carpenter flick, and then was like, okay, can't do 3 movies here. 1 movie, cool. So they do all 35 millimeter. I wish them the best at the Gap Theater in Wind Gap, because that's a cool idea to
Yes.
bring back horror from the 80s and 90s. And I will say, seeing trailers for like vampires with James Woods.
I bet that would have been awesome.
So cool. Very
Oh,
cool. Very
so
cool.
jealous. I'm so jealous.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you're in Wind Gap, check it out. 3 movies, a little rough on your butt. Just saying. About a movie and a half in. This is too much for my butt. So, Big Trouble in Little China. Another great one.
I love
So
love
yeah,
that.
and a shout out to I'll throw it out there because I'm getting their Dry Rot. They provided the T-shirts that were there. I got a nice little bit of the old Ultraviolence Clockwork Orange shirt. So pretty cool. Good time. Go to our link, click on all the stuff, stab that like button down there, stab at it, slash at it, just get it. Hit the little bell, ring the bell. When we're in here, if you catch us, leave us a little comment. Help us in the algorithm to get our show out there. We just hit 60 movies. 60 movies.
That's
We've
pretty
been
cool.
doing this for a minute. It's pretty cool. Love it. Love our Thursday nights. Till next Thursday, when we uncage ourselves. Stay spooky out there, friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we always like to say as we're signing off, first of all, thank you so much for being here. Whether you're here with us live or whether you're checking us out on X or on Twitch, we really do love communicating with you. We love to watch what is going on in the chat room. So come just by logging into YouTube on a live stream that makes you an automatic member of the Talking Dead, and then you can always, as Chris said, let us know what you would like to watch and talk about, and we would love to talk about those things with you. That being said, until we meet again, which will be next Thursday, 8 o'clock.
You know it.
May all your dreams be nightmares. No, may all your nightmares be groovy. Have a great night, everybody.
See you guys.